Hello, I'm Maluka, a 3D pen creator, and today I'll be making a frog. For the frog, I'll be using wood filament because it's very easy to melt. Frogs are actually one of my favorite animals. My favorite animal is a panda. Pandas have been my favorite animal since 2nd grade. Speaking of grades, how I decided which frog to pick out of the 5,000 species was because this is the frog from my science book in middle school. I can't find the photo of the exact book, but this is the cover photo. This is a red-eyed tree frog. They are carnivores and eat moths, crickets, flies, and sometimes even smaller frogs. Making this frog was very difficult because of the complex design. So I stuck with the core 3D pen principles of making a side frame and a front frame and putting them together. Just make sure when you're adding the face you put it in the middle of the head or it's not gonna look right. Next step was adding all the circles to fill out the frame. Then it was time to begin building up the face. I took my time and carefully made sure it was symmetrical. Now it was time to really fill it in. This is just layering multiple layers of filament to build it up. I did the exact same thing to the body with a lot less enthusiasm. With all that being done, the frame is still very weak, so I have to go back in and fill in all the gaps. The best method is going around in a circular motion. It's very time consuming, but it works. Now for the frog legs. Did you know some people actually eat them? They say it tastes like chicken, but I don't think it's this kind of frog. I also made a mistake here. I'm not gonna say what it is, but see if you can spot it before I bring it up again. Since these parts are just so tiny, I had to use my finger to push up the filament. Then I ended up using a stick of an incense and it was just the perfect size. I added all the limbs to the body. Then I have to fill them in and make the connection sturdy. The feet were next up, and they are just so tiny and adorable. They all get added on one by one. I'll be using my soldering iron to smooth out the surface. This can take a very long time depending on the project. While smoothing, I made sure to add some wrinkles to the frog's skin to make it more realistic. While we're here, the eyes are still tiny, so let's fix that. To make the eyes larger, I just repeatedly stack filament to form a circle. I then went back and smoothed them out again, making sure not to remove too much filament. I always have references on my iPad, and I realized that Kayla's face was too flat. Yes, I named the frog Kayla, so I fixed it. The toes were very difficult to smooth because they were so tiny they melted together. You can fix this by using some aluminum wire, but I didn't have any. Now, back to the eyes to add the eyelid. You might notice in my videos some things are done out of order, and that's because when I work, I don't go in a direct line. I am working on fixing that so my videos flow better. If you guessed earlier the frog's arms were the wrong size and I had the wrong amount of toes, you win. I was forced to remove the arms to smooth out everything without ruining the body. But adding the parts back together at this point is incredibly easy. I knew since the beginning Kayla would be on a stick to mimic my science book, so I have to make the stick. This is by far the easiest thing I've made in a very long time, and it didn't take a long time either, so that's a win. I was very curious on how expensive this type of frog will cost, and it's honestly not as expensive as I thought. It's $40. That's insane. Then I was curious about how much the habitat would cost, and yeah, it was around $500. That makes a lot more sense. I would actually want a frog as a pet, but one of the giant ones. Sorry, Kayla. Something about having a huge frog that fits in my hand sounds really awesome. Downside, I would have to feed the frog live insects, but honestly, I think I could live with that as long as I don't have to touch them. It's done. It looks like a turd, but we move on. I originally smoothed out the way I normally do, but I realized if I went around in circles, it leaves a cool pattern that kinda looks really close to bark. When I did the test fit, Kayla did fit, but her head was pointed way too low for me. I wrapped the stick with tape so I could position the arms and legs without worrying about them getting stuck. The last detail for Kayla's face was the nose that I did not forget about. I saved it for last. Now it's time to sand, and I'll be using sandpaper sticks. Then I realized I have free will. I just don't have to spend hours doing this. I can speed it up with the power tool. I did end up going back over this with sandpaper to remove the marks. I used to be included. Kayla fits. I did also add more detail to the stick, and now it's time to paint. I started with the green and I painted the face and the lower limbs. Next, the hands and feet both got painted orange. I ended up having the most perfect blue paint for the arms and legs. To add the dots onto Kayla, I just used tiny dots of paint and it worked. I added tiny orange dots to the red circles I made earlier. I painted the eyes red, then I used orange to blend it in. I finally added the black pupils. The brown stick got painted brown. Then all the moss got painted green along with the vines. The frog is now complete. Thank you. Bye.